This is Mom Squad Pod, your weekly update on tips, tricks, and all things parenting with Maureen Kyle.
Hi everyone, it is the most wonderful time of the year. The kids are headed back to school, and yes, we parents want a quiet house. Some of us may want routine, but most of all, we know that there are amazing teachers who devote their whole lives to shaping who our kids are and become. At the end of last school year, we had a parent from St. Francis of Assisi in Gates Mills, Ohio, reach out to us about their all-star teacher. And this email reads, Miss Cindy D'Alessandro, 7th, 8th grade teacher at St. Francis of Assisi in Gates Mills. Our beloved Miss D is quite a legend at St. Francis. Students and parents, too, know that Miss D means business. At the beginning of the school year, Miss D is known for her famous chat with parents where she explains the process of students gaining independence and what that means for us. Her famous words, cut the cord, help parents understand her philosophy that students need to advocate for themselves and tackle things on their own. So that's just part of the email. We know every parent needs a Miss D, so we brought her in. We need this pep talk before we kick off the school year. So Cindy, I want to thank you for coming in and taking part of your day to help us learn the ways of cutting the cord, which we're going to explain in a few minutes. But thank you so much for sharing your speech with the rest of us. This is so exciting. So cut the cord to me means, you know, we say that when we're talking about cutting the cable or cutting technology.
Right.
What do you mean by cut the cord? What is this chat that you give parents, especially as they're going into junior high phase?
Cutting the cord to me means that you're allowing your child and the student to stand up on their own 2 feet and be able to advocate for themselves so that they could speak for themselves and understand clearly what they're doing and what they're getting into.
So you're talking to all of us helicopter parents out there.
And there's a lot.
Yeah. What have you noticed, especially in all the years that you've been teaching? How long have you been teaching?
This will be my 44th year starting.
That's incredible. So have you noticed parents hovering a lot more and doing a lot more for their children as you've seen the decades pass?
Yes, they hover, they do. They don't want their child to fail, and so I think that's why they do what they do.
Where do you see parents swooping in where they should let their child have that independence and do things on their own?
A lot of the time is too much homework. They feel they're getting too much homework, and also their grades. Mm-hmm. The parents want A's without the work, sorry to say.
Yeah.
But that's what they want.
Yeah.
And to me, a C in learning is much better than an A not learning.
That is true. I guess I'm one of those parents that I want to see the good grades so that they can make it to the next level.
As long as they're working to the best of their ability. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to ever ask you when you're going for a job interview, what were your grades? Mm-hmm. They want to know, what are your skills? What can you do? How can you communicate? That's what we try to do.
Okay, so let's say I'm a 7th grade parent at St. Francis, going into 7th grade, and I've never heard your speech before. So what happens? You
come in, and my partner teacher, Maureen Kilroy, and we lead the junior high, 8th grade, 7th grade parent meeting. Mm-hmm. And I start by showing a pair of scissors, handing out scissors, asking them if they have scissors, and telling them that they need to cut the cord. That this year they need to start letting their child stand on their own 2 feet and advocate for themselves because it's so important. Mm-hmm. So that way when they get to high school, they are so much further ahead.
What are those ways that you tell the parents, cut the cord?
I tell them, it's great that I hear from you, but I really don't want to hear from you. I want to hear from your child. So if they have a question or they have a concern, they should be the one talking to me, emailing me, things like that, not the parent. They have to step back and let their child fall, and then we'll help them get up.
I feel like that's so many lessons all in one, just to be able to reach out to a teacher and then write that email. What are all the lessons, in your opinion, that come with stepping up and writing that email to the teacher?
Well, it gives the child, first of all, a sense of responsibility and taking initiative for like what they're doing and how they're learning. I always say you have to set the bar high, and they have to figure out where that bar is going. I could set it, but they're the ones who have to achieve it. And so they can do that by advocating for themselves and saying, hey, I want to keep growing. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I'm going to talk to the teacher. I'm going to figure out how I can better myself.
Yeah. Or what about a missed assignment, to be able to
Right.
take ownership too? Do you see students doing that?
Correct. Like I tell them, I go, you know what? I grade papers almost every night, but there's some nights, hey, I'm tired, or whatever, I don't want to do it. And I go, you're going to get that way with your homework, or you have sports, or maybe somebody in your family is sick and you can't do it. That's fine. Come in the next morning and just say, I couldn't do my homework. I'll have it done tomorrow. This is the reason why. That's totally acceptable. And now if you're doing it every other day, okay, that's a different story. But I don't need to hear from the parents, you know, my child was tired, they couldn't do it. The child needs to speak for themselves because they're the one who didn't do it. Yeah. They're the one who needs to take responsibility.
And as a language arts teacher for 7th and 8th grade, drafting an email to a teacher has to be another important lesson. I mean, because there are adults who don't know how to properly draft an email.
Correct.
Do you see them using the correct punctuation and what to
at
do?
The beginning of the year, no. They think you're their friend, and that's how the email comes across. They don't address you. They don't sign it. They don't. But it's a process, and they learn how to do that because they'll need to learn that in high school, college, for a job. They'll need to. It's not a friend they're talking to.
Yeah. How do you think technology has changed the way you see kids communicate, and then also the changes in responsibility, work ethic, and everything else that has come along with using cell phones and iPads and everything over the years?
I think information is at their fingertips, and it's so much easier to get now that sometimes you don't have to work as hard for it. And there's so many shortcuts that they know with this technology. But I think if they use it just as a little tool instead of the main focus, and they really use the paper, the pen, that's what helps them learn, and then they can use this as an added.
Yeah, and I can imagine too, I know, if you're not familiar with the Northeast Ohio area, we have a big Catholic school population, where I'm sure that most of these kids then go on to maybe some of the private Catholic high schools, and that's an application process.
Correct.
Do you see? I mean, they have to apply. They have to take a test sometimes. They have to write essays. This cutting the cord. Do you see them step up in ways that they're taking responsibility to go?
Oh, they take
apply?
responsibility. In January, that's when the application process comes out for Catholic high schools. And you usually have 3 good-sized paragraphs that you have to write on different things. And then it asks you, too, what have you been involved with? And so that's stressed at our school a lot, becoming a leader and being involved. They want to know, what are you going to do for their school? Not, are you a straight A person, you know, but are you working to your ability, and are you involved? Do you serve other people? That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So when you have those type of requirements and talking about being a leader, does it sink in with kids? And then what kind of activities do they go on to choose?
It sinks in. 7th grade, it doesn't sink in, but they're watching the 8th grade, and then they're looking forward to becoming those 8th graders and being the leaders of our school. In 8th grade, they are leaders. They run everything. We talk about the idea, but they do it. So as an example, we have a grandparent luncheon, and it's just 8th grade. We bring in Don DeSantis and his orchestra, and we have it catered, and the kids do everything. We have a leadership class in 8th grade, and so we say, okay, it's always on Valentine's Day. So on Valentine's Day, we're going to have our grandparent luncheon. Who's going to co-chair the invitations? Who's co-chairing the food? Who's co-chairing the decorations? We have a prayer service. Then we have games that we play with the grandparents. So kids are the co-chairs for each of those, and then we have the 2 MCs. So they do everything. They contact caterers. They come back. They report. This is what we can get. This is how much. We vote. So we do things like that. And it's really great. We have a veterans on November 11th. We have a veterans mass and then an assembly. And they, again, have everything.
Yeah.
And so they're given the opportunity.
So most schools would be lucky if they have a Miss D at the head of the class. But as parents are listening to this, and if they want to adopt some of your philosophies and they want to make sure that their kids are doing these things to become leaders and to also gain some independence, what are some of the things you think we can do at home to make sure that our kids are leading down this path?
I think you could let them advocate for themselves. Don't step in every 2 seconds. Don't try to make everything right for them. Let them fall. It's okay to fall. As adults, we fall too. Let them fall and figure out how to pick themselves up. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world to get an F on a paper. That's how you learn and grow. It's not the end of the world to miss a homework assignment. It's not the end of the world if I want everything perfect when we have these, assemblies and things like that. But if you mess up, you're the only person, our class, the only person who knows you messed up. Learn from it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't try to make everything perfect for them.
Do you think there's a perfectionist lifestyle? I'm just thinking Instagram, even for adults, we've talked about life isn't perfect, but there is a lot of internal pressure people put on themselves. Do you see that coming out in junior high school aged kids?
Oh, for sure, because they look up to different people, whether it's models or actresses or sports figures, and they want to be like them, and they think they're perfect. And so, yeah.
So this lets them them live a real life
Right.
and say, okay, F means I need to improve.
Right.
And then it seems like it's part of your speech. Do you tell parents like, hey, your kid is going to get a C?
Right. I tell them exactly what I just said.
Don't come down hard on them?
Right. Don't worry if they fail something. It's not the end of the world. Plus, one assignment is not killing your whole grade, so it doesn't matter. But if you could learn from it. So I didn't study, I got a bad grade, okay, now I know I got to put more time into it or something like that.
I want to know what you say to parents if maybe the speech didn't sink in and there is that F on the paper and a parent reaches out to you saying, hey, my kid had travel soccer and then travel baseball and then travel volleyball, so we couldn't get this done, so how are we going to get him or her an A? What would you say to that parent?
Well, they have to set their priorities. So if their priorities are sports, then don't go complain about the grade. If your priority is education, which it should be, then maybe you have to look at all the things you're involved with and come back on something else. Because they are involved in so many things.
It's crazy how much kids are involved in now. My sister and I were talking that we didn't have second grade. Now I stepped up to coach third grade volleyball. We didn't have third grade CYO sports back then, and now, I'm signing my kids up for that. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on kids. So, well, Miss D, thank you so much for sharing all of your advice with us.
Well, I think that for having me.
It's a wonderful way to kick off the school year, and what you're doing is just so wonderful for parents and families.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of you for joining us here on Mom Squad. I hope you took a little advice away for yourself, and hopefully you incorporate that throughout the school year. Have a great day, and I'll see you right back here next time.
Thanks for listening to Mom Squad Pod with Maureen Kyle from WKYC Studios. Subscribe now so you never miss an update. And find more on everything you heard here on WKYC.com and on the WKYC app.